defensively as you're building right now, and then what are some areas that you feel like you guys really want to take some strides on in the next week or so?
More strides needed rather than encouragement. I mean, we have some nice plays, but we have to be a lot more consistent in all kind of facets of that end of the floor to be the best team that we can be. So we need to see progress there here in these last couple games and in practice, and it's everywhere. You know, it's not one thing. It's just overall tightness on that end of the floor. You know, obviously had different guys playing last night than had played, so that's probably got something to do with it. And then, you know, we've got these guys. Everybody's pretty much playing tomorrow. The guys that rested, at least. So we should take a step forward there.
On the other side,
Evaluate, you know, defensively, you've got some guys aren't playing a ton. The stakes are a little different. Some guys maybe take a little longer to get into a rhythm than other guys. How do you evaluate defensively? Are you looking at habits? What do you look at, you know, when you're trying to evaluate?
Yeah, I mean, all the contextual stuff could be true, but it's like pretty black and white. You know, are you back in transition, getting matched? You know, if you're not matched, it could be for 100 different reasons, but you're still not matched. You know, and that's all we can evaluate. Point of attack defense, ball pressure, help. You know, all that stuff is, you know, we're looking at it. It's pretty, like I said, it's pretty black and white on that end of the floor. Offense is much more nuanced, but you know, and we have good possessions and we have good moments and good stretches for sure, but you've got to be really consistent in those to be a good defensive team, and we're not, you know, where we can be right now.
What have you seen from Isaiah this season? He's talked so much about not wanting to be a one-dimensional player, and that's what he kind of worked on this offseason. What sort of areas of growth have you seen from him so far?
Yeah, he's not a one-dimensional player. You know, he's I give him a lot of credit. He's a complete player. Really, really good positional defender, reliable in coverages, physical, despite the fact that he's slighter and not as big. And then offensively, he not only can obviously really shoot it and hunt shots, but when he's involved in actions, he plays the actions at full speed. And that really leverages his shooting gravity and creates advantages for the guys with the ball. So using him as a screener or a slip screener, those sorts of things, he takes those reps really seriously, and it helps the ball handlers and it helps our offense create advantages. So he is not a specialist. You know, he's a really good, complete player.
Defensively for him, his IQs always seem to be really high on that end of the floor. It feels like he has to be just with his size. Just how has that grown for him throughout his time here, you think?
Yeah, I think he's gained you know, he was kind of on it. He had played in the NBA for how many years did he do in Philly? 2? Yeah, he had played 2 years, so he had done 2 training camps and done that whole thing. But so he had a base when he got here, but he's really learned our system. And he's learned how he can leverage his strengths and vulnerabilities inside of our system, and he's gotten really, really consistent in that. So, you know, again, all you can ask when you put guys on the court is that they're predictable. You know, he's a very predictable player on both ends of the floor. You know exactly what you're getting, and it makes it easier to utilize him in the situations that it's advantageous for the team.
So when he's played so long in another league and he's coming over here the first time at 29, what are some of the challenges of adjusting over here, and how's he enjoying that process?
Yeah, I'd love to know what he says about that. You know, I don't want to speak for him. My guesses are different. Size, the floor's bigger. You know, feels bigger with the spacing, especially with defensive 3 seconds. I think the lane is much more congested over there than it is over here, and so your closeouts and the space you have to cover defensively is much larger, which I think he's feeling. Offensively, speed, athleticism, strength, I think is a little bit different. And therefore the tactics kind of match that. I think it's a little bit more free-flowing over here, whereas over there it's very organized and the execution's really good. There's a physicality over there that I think it's not more or less physical, it's different type of physicality, and it's happening in different places of the game. That's just from me watching, but I'd be interested to know which of those things, if maybe I'm missing something, is what he would say.
Is this a tougher camp? Looks like you got some good ball players. Everybody can't make it. Some good players on that probably amongst other teams. Is this a tougher camp than the past in terms of decision making in the front ball?
It's more Sam. You know, like he's at the end of the day, it's going to be his decision. He seeks our input. and we're in constant communication on that stuff. But there's more to it than just how they perform in camp. There's strategic elements to it as well. And so we're giving him the feedback. He's obviously watching, his group's watching, and then we work together on those decisions. But, I mean, if you remember last year, we had guys under contract, same situation during training camp that we had to navigate. And for our purposes, it's not only the guys that make the team, but rotation minutes, roles early in the season, like who starts off kind of in the mix and who doesn't, how fluid to make it, starting lineup, those sorts of things are all things that we're evaluating right now. We're trying to get looks at a lot of different things so that we can have a little bit of a data set going into the year and have some sort of comfort level in what we put out there. But it is competitive, at really every spot, even though, the competition's different. There's some competitions for a roster spot, some's for rotation minutes, some's for usage or ways of being used. So it's pretty competitive, but it has been, at least last year it was.
Earlier in camp, we talked about, you kind of mentioned when guys ask questions, that's sort of a sign of humility that, they don't come in thinking that they know everything. But I was also wondering if, those questions can help the group overall. And I was wondering if there's any player in particular whose questions really maybe help like advance the conversation or advance the coaching staff's thinking on what you guys are doing out there on the floor.
They do a great job. It's not one guy. They do a great job of being pretty verbal in film sessions, in practices. We had our referee meeting yesterday in Charlotte, and that was a lively conversation. Guys had a lot of questions about points of emphasis, and the official that was presenting to us, probably had to field 10, 15 questions. And so it's great, and from a coaching standpoint, it's great because it checks for understanding. You learn where the gaps are in your teaching or in the system. Sometimes there's not an answer. Sometimes the answer is every play is different. You got to kind of figure some things out. But sometimes it reflects a lack of clarity on our part, where we know we have to tighten the screws a little bit. So having an interactive group, there's a lot of benefits to that, and we have that right now.
Talked a lot. Your players have talked a lot about the advantages they got out of the World Cup. Did you come into camp thinking, in terms of preseason games, it might factor into rest? Those guys have played a lot.
The only one was Shea in the first game that I would say was FIBA related. The one yesterday, not every team plays 5 preseason games. You don't have to. This year we wanted to do 5 and commit a game to the guys that don't play every single minute every night. It's hard to get a real evaluation of a player in short stints. And you can either rotate them different games, or you can just spend a game and clear the path. And that's really what we were doing. It was less rest yesterday as much as it was trying to loosen the rotation enough that we could get other guys out there in different roles and for long stretches of time so that we could take a look at what that looked like. And I thought we got a good look at that. It accomplished what we wanted to accomplish yesterday, but those guys could have played.
What made you want to do 5?
I'm sorry?
What made you want to do 5 preseason games?
That consideration, 3 or 4 is probably enough for the guys that are going to start the season in the rotation. And then, we tack on a 5th, knowing that we have a young team, knowing that we're going to have a roster situation where we've got a lot of guys we want to take a look at, knowing that we've got young players that need developmental time. We're trying to, crank that up right now. And a 5th game just loosens that up. I think last year we played 6 for the same reasons. So, but it's different every year. The objectives you're trying to reach are different every year.
Mark, you're back at home tomorrow, and you're 1-0 with the new Jumbotron on challenges. Does that help at all on challenges at home?
Yeah. I mean, the Jumbotron itself doesn't, but a good replay coordinator does.
How often do you look at that being challenge?
Almost always. I'm going to challenge. I try to have an internal clock of you have a little bit of time, and I try to use all the resources from, if there's a replay, use that. The guys on the bench have a computer, use them. And then the players on the court, you ask them if they fouled the guy. And that has a huge weight for me because they're involved in the play. If they didn't touch the guy, they're the first ones to know that. And then, you just got to kind of train them to know that, like, there's actual cameras and there's video replays. So if you actually fouled the guy, then so in Montreal, Chet, he was like, challenge that. And I didn't look at anything. was like, okay, boom, there you go. You know, and I think it puts pressure on those guys to know, like, if you tell me to go get it, I'm going to go get it. And he was right on that one. So Jets 1-0.
Who tries to skirt the line the most of getting something right that was obviously a foul?
What's that?
Who tries to skirt the line the most and kind of get you to challenge something that wasn't really a foul?
This group's pretty good, but I coached a guy. The coach's challenge was in the G League all 5 years. And I coached a guy named Talib Zana who played at Pitt. He was in training camp here. He's like a big time rebounder. We had a game. He had 27 rebounds in a game, in a G League game. He just 8 defensive rebounds. And he's undersized, but he could really rebound. But he was the worst at, and shout out to Talib, great rebounder, great guy, but he was the worst at the challenges. He would be like, challenge that. I'd be like, time out. And I was losing all these challenges. So I was like, so he motivated me to tell teams in the future, like, hey, like I go through it with the guys, you know, and let them know the philosophy behind it and the importance of it. And then if they, like Wiggins last night thought he didn't foul him on the jump ball, it was an advantageous time to try it. And I'm using that information. Like if he said, yeah, I got him, I wouldn't have done it. But I never hold it against them if they're trying. You know what I mean? You can't scare them out of, you know, never telling you, you know, so I try to be fair as well.
Philosophically, do you know this week, do you want to ramp up minutes and get a little closer to a regular season game, or do you play tomorrow and figure out?
Some of it's like in the game, seeing how they're going and stuff like that. I mean, one of these last 2 games will ramp up pretty good with the guys that are the highest minute players. But some of that's like an in-game call based on how we're playing and how they're looking. You know, if they're sluggish, I don't think throwing them back out there is a great idea. But you know, we'll see where it's at. It's a little touch and go, but we'll hopefully get a ramp up here in the last 2 games at some point.
How's Kaysen doing?
Good. I think he's fine. We're going to be conservative with him being preseason, and he's done a good job to this point. We'll see how he feels tomorrow. We were conservative with him in the game last night, but toe sprain and day to day.
Is there a timeline on Finrich?
We need to see how he's responding. His back's a little hot right now, so we just need to see how he responds over the next couple of days. It's not something that you can do a firm timeline with at this particular stage.
Mark, in looking at this preseason schedule, how cool is it that on Thursday you get to connect with your fans in a whole different part of the state?
Great. We love going to Tulsa. Love going up there. We feel great support there. We feel great support throughout the state, and have made a point to go there every year. And love playing up there. We always get a great reception from the fans. Should be a good game. Us in Detroit again, last preseason game. Last time I was there was Springsteen show with Matt Tumbleson. So Thursday will inevitably be disappointing. But no matter how good the defense is.
So Mark was just saying, you know, the spacing on the floor is different than maybe how it is in the EuroLeague. Have you noticed that? How have you been adapting to just maybe the floor being a little bit more spread?
I agree, definitely. It's open space. It's very high pace of game compared to EuroLeague. The paint is more open, so there are a lot of opportunities for creative guys to reach the paint and create the advantage, especially good ball handlers. But also, it's kind of a little bit easier to create from that spacing. For me, I still try to adjust. It's quite still new everything for me, but I'm happy that all of them help me to learn as fast as I can, and I think all together we'll reach some good point.
Last night you just seemed so patient on some of your drives that you didn't seem like you were rushed to make a decision. You were able to kind of hold on to the ball until the defense committed. How does that feel on the court to be able to kind of make the defenders commit before you have to do something?
I mean, I've been playing so long. I think I played more than 1 million times pick and roll in my life. So it's one of the reasons. But the second reason, definitely, I like to play in the moment. I try to read what was the best in that moment. So if I'm open, I like to take the shot. If someone else is open, I like to create for them. Because, I mean, I still feel that part of myself, like let's say, real point guard. I'm very happy when I assist to someone, because once I think Jokic said that it makes 2 people happy, the assist. So that's what I'm trying to play when I'm on the court, because we have a lot of talented players, especially the guys from the first rotation. They are so talented. So with my qualities, I'm trying to improve that on another level with my creativity.
So you're saying that behind the back pass to J. Will, you didn't know that you were going to do that ahead of time? You just
No, I really didn't know. I just tried to read in the moment. That's how it happened.
Also, how have these first 3 games been for you? Just getting acclimated to this team, these players, and the system overall.
It's tough, really. The pace is so hard. Yesterday I played, I think, 20 something minutes, and I felt like I played 45. It was very, very high pace, and but it's also very challenging for me because I like to play. I mean, the reason I came here is not to just be in NBA. I want to get my opportunity if I can, if I have enough quality to play with these guys. Of course, I'm aware of their status here, and most of them they already played for many years together. So, but also I have my opportunity, so I'm trying to adjust, as I said, as fast as I can, because there are not so much time before the season, but every day is opportunity. So I think so far I'm grabbing from everyone a little piece and gathering to some ideal picture for me to look at least good on the court, and by the time I think I'll be better and better.
Coach told us that Poku sometimes helps you, pulls you aside in Serbian. How helpful is it to have a guy who speaks your language out there?
I mean, it's strange because I'm older than him, so I'm supposed to do that to him. But obviously, he's 4 years here. He knows how the game goes, and he's very mature for his age. And he gave me really some useful tips. Also, the other guys, they're trying to help me. And I'm that type of guy. I like to ask. I'm not shy to ask. Nothing to feel wrong about something not knowing. And that's me. So, yeah, so far, Poku is my great friend here. Right.
Is there a big difference in terms of, you played so much basketball in EuroLeague? Are you thinking more on the court than you normally would in a game like that?
I mean, I feel that opponents kind of try to test me. In these 2 games, they try to play physical with me, and that's normal too, because they see me as a rookie, which I am. But that's something that I face a lot of times in Europe, playing against very aggressive guards and good defenders. Probably not the level of NBA, but very, very decent level. So that's something that I expected, but it kind of put me in situations sometimes that I'm a little bit undecisive, and that's something that I just should move on and take the best decision, and that's the biggest change that I feel on the court.
What was the schedule like in the EuroLeague and Turkish League? Like, how many games a week would you play, and how many days a week would you practice?
It's quite similar, honestly. We don't have back-to-back. We had like sometimes, let's say Monday game, Wednesday, Friday, Sunday. So it's also 4 times per week, which is also a lot of games. And when you play for top teams, then every game is matter because opponents wanna break you down, and they're looking as opportunity to play against you as their best chance to show their potential. So it was very challengeable too in Europe. I think I was gathering around 85 to 95 games, depends on the season. And in that terms, it's not so big difference. But I would say the amount of physicality here and the amount of pace is something that makes you feel so tired. That's my opinion. But maybe these guys already adjust and get used to that. Other than that, it's quite similar.
And on basketball, did you experience any cultural shock?
Talent is very high. Bodies are very big. Like, they are very strong guys. Pace and more isolations, which is in Europe you have a lot of help from everywhere. There is no defensive 3 seconds, so you can pack the paint, so you can kind of feel protected. Here you have to fight for one-on-one defense.
How about the daily life, like except other than off the court?
I'm sleeping all day still. I mean, it's just changing of practice time at 11 instead of 3 p.m., which I had in Turkey. It's huge difference. I'm already in the bed at 8:30, and I'm questioning what I'm doing, but it's okay. It's a new thing. I like it. I accept everything before I came. I knew it's gonna be new, so what can I say? I like it. I like the challenge. it's a big difference for my life and change, but I accept it and I love it. So whatever comes along the way, I'll take it.
You had a chance to start with Jalen Williams last night, kind of played a facilitator role. What do you think of his playmaking skills?
I think he has a very big potential in that way. I think he's still very young. He seems mature, but he's obviously very young. So his talent to spread the court and to read the game can be very useful for this team, because not so many guys in the league, I would say, are very creative on position 5. So he can help everyone. He helped me yesterday a lot. So by the time, I think he will just improve, and I think they like him here too.
Anything else? Thank you, Vasa.
Thank you, guys.
Guys.